All right. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks again for being here, tuning into my channel. I thank God for allowing me to talk to you guys again. I always start off thanking God because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I was thinking about making this video, and as I was thinking of it, I thought, why not play this song? Because this song that was playing by Jay-Z and Beanie Siegel, it strikes a chord with me. So the song is Where Have You Been? And the lyric sort of goes, Daddy, where have you been? You left us all here, all alone. Something like that. And that's what I want to kind of talk about today. It's a part 2 to my original post, speaking on my dad. So if you've been tuning into my blog posts and little hints I'll give throughout my YouTube videos, you know that I didn't grow up with my dad. Now, I'm fortunate to be standing here today, and I don't have any regrets. I'm happy that everything played out the way it did, because I know God had a hand in everything. But there are some things that just didn't settle right with me. Now, over this past weekend, I would say a couple weekends ago, I actually had the chance to dig up some things from my past. So, to give you a little bit of a refresher, I didn't grow up with my dad. I stopped seeing my dad maybe when I was 7. I don't really recall, but I didn't have the best relationship with him. I just remember he used to travel a lot, and he would just come back and give me gifts, and hey, I was fine. I was a little kid. So I didn't have a good relationship with him. He passed away a couple years ago. Rest in peace to him. And it was tough because I didn't know how to feel. I was like, do I cry? I don't care. I didn't know what to do. So a couple weekends ago, I had the opportunity to meet his brother, my uncle Chijoke. So I went out to Atlanta. I went to see my brother and his kids, and it was a random occurrence that I actually ran into my uncle. Now, I didn't have any communication with my dad's side of the family. Long story short, my dad, the reason why my mom and dad split, a lot of infidelities. My dad wasn't the best father, the best husband, so I believe it was in my mother's best interest to leave. And I support my mom 100%. She was a strong woman. She did what she had to do, and look at me now. Thank you, Mom. But meeting my uncle, it allowed me to ask some questions that I never got to ask. It allowed me to meet the man who I never got to know. He told me some things about his character that some were good, some were bad, but ultimately it's just good to learn about my dad. As a black man, as an African man, as an African American man, whatever you identify with, as a man in general, identity is key. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said, in life, it's about what you think, what's in your mind. And ultimately, when you think about being put on this earth by somebody who is a nobody, it affects you in some type of way. You need positive reinforcement in your life. I know when I was younger, I used to wonder, hey, why didn't I have these opportunities that I know my other friends had? But as I've mentioned before, my mom did a great job with me, and I'm 100% grateful for that. So I met my uncle, and I wanted to know who this man was. I wanted to get his identity, because it's important for black men to know your identity. And while I didn't have this identity crisis because I know who I am, it was important for me to solidify that identity. I carry my dad's last name, and my dad's last name, or my last name, it's not Johnson, it's not Baker, it's Lemchukwu, which you start asking questions when you have a name like that. So meeting my uncle was cool, and I just wanted to share some things that I learned about my dad. I learned some good things and bad things, as I said, but some of the really interesting things that I learned about my dad was actually a very stylish man. So I learned that my dad used to have his boxers and his undergarments ironed before he put them on. And I'm thinking, yo, that's crazy, because I don't go to those lengths, but I consider myself to be very particular in my fashion sense. So hearing that, I was like, wow, I guess God did make a mistake. And then I also learned that my dad used to fly out his tailor to Nigeria to actually take his measurements, which I don't have the means. I will in the future. But for me, it's like, I'm very particular about my measurements as well. I have a lot of friends who sometimes come out and they take my measurements and they make custom pieces for me. Shouts out to everybody who's an entrepreneur, and you do that. And also hearing this, it just brought joy to my heart. Another thing I heard was that my dad was a very smart man. He loved to take notes. He loved writing, and I love blogging, and I love taking notes as well. So you can only imagine what was going through my head as I'm learning these things about this man that I really didn't get to know. So I was sad for a little bit because he seemed like a really good guy. But then it had to dawn on me that there were reasons why he wasn't in my life. The infidelities, the lying, the cheating, the scandals. But of course, my dad has passed away, so I don't talk bad about the dead. So rest in peace to my father. But the one thing that I wanted to make clear is I wasn't looking for a hero. Hearing all these good things about my dad, it didn't make me want to live his life. It made me want to strive to just be better than him. Take all the good parts and combine that into the good things that I already have going for me. So I'm not going to start asking, or I'm not going to demand my wife or try to get house help to iron my clothes for me, but I will be diligent in how I take notes. I will be smart. I will make smart investments. I also learned that my dad was a very rich man, but he lost most of his fortune by mismanagement and just having an entourage by him. So it's like one of those dope boy movies where you see the guys and they have the flashy cars, all the women buy them, and they always end up dead. Why isn't it that they can they can understand that you're meant to better the next generation? So I think my dad isn't a hero to me, but he's somebody that I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that he met my mom. I'm thankful that he brought me into this world, and I can appreciate the good things about him. So I encourage anybody, if your dad's still living and you don't have a relationship with him, link up with him, ask him those questions. You'd be surprised what peace it brings you. Like, I know finding all this stuff about my dad, it really made me step into who I'm supposed to be. I knew, okay, well, I've seen the perils which my dad went through. I've heard about all the good things about my dad, and I know, where these things come from in me. For instance, when I tell you I don't wear fashion suits, and I call them fashion suits or club suits because they're those cheap, flimsy suits. It's not because, I'm bougie. It's just because I'm my dad's son. That's what I do. And I plan to keep on doing that, but I'm also somebody that I won't put material things above family. Above all is God. God is going to guide me, and he's going to teach me how to hop over some of those ditches that my dad fell into. Now, I also started to think, how would my dad, would he be proud of me right now if he was here, and he actually knew me? And it was interesting because I also found out that he left some land and it was incomplete. It's not finished. And I think definitely not in this moment, but in the future, I would love to make my dad proud by finishing that land back home in Nigeria. So I'm going to keep on working. I'm going to keep on making the right choices, and I'm going to finish that land in the future. So I guess making this blog post, it's kind of sentimental to me because talking about somebody that you wish you had met or that you wish you had a relationship with, and they passed away, you didn't get that chance to say your final goodbyes or even ask them some questions directly. It makes me feel as though, well, did I make a mistake? Once I was 18, 19, 20, when I was a man and I was away from my mom, should I have reached out? These are questions, unfortunately, I don't know how to answer. But what I can tell you is if you have the chance to have a sit down with your dad or your mom, anybody that's been out of your life, take that opportunity because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I stand here today a better man. I stand here today a happy man. So that's the message I want to give to you guys. Now, let's move on to what's going on in my life. As I've mentioned before, I'm going back to school, studying, you name it. I'm just trying to better myself. But I'm also going to be reconstructing my website and hopefully doing some edits to my video process so I can churn out some higher quality videos. But once again, I thank everybody for sticking with me. Thank you for sharing stuff. Thank you for reaching out to me and just saying, hey, I can relate to you. And I hope everybody has a blessed day. Thank you all.